B. Upper Abbey. Player says well, that was. I don't know. I did learn more about the founding of Kiersau, and that illustration from the manuscript, the Mithraeum. It was like the one in the mine. Is it part of the history of the Abbey? Of Tassing? It must be written down somewhere. If only the library hadn't burned down with everything in it. The ruins are right there. Maybe not everything was destroyed. Player says my god, this is amazing. I wonder what it must have looked like before the fire. Everything collapsed in the fire. I'll have to be careful climbing over this rubble to get past. Oh, shit. Oh no, I can't get back up there. If I climb, it might collapse further. I'll have to find another way out. Tower. 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 Church. Vines. Church. Vines. Player says there's nothing left of the old staircase. I guess I can't go this way. These vines go all the way to the top, though. They look sturdy enough to hold my weight. Well, there's no other way out. I can see all of Tassing from here. I wonder if I can piece together the foundations of the Abbey and find a way to get to the library. I bet I could get down this way. The roof looks pretty stable. Player says oh. God. I remember when the library burned down. Dad told me I was just a baby, but I remember the flames coming out of the windows. So many people were screaming and running around. I cried myself to sleep that night. I haven't seen this place since then. It doesn't look like there's anything left inside. I suppose it was too much to hope for. Well, Magdalene, how are you going to get out of here? Cemetery. These roses seem to have made the Abbey their home. I'm glad something beautiful is still growing here. Cemetery. Old Bailey. Old Bailey. Cloister. These roses seem to have made the abbey their home. I'm glad something beautiful is still growing here. Cloister. Cemetery. Pet. I wonder if there were always this many cats at the abbey. Perhaps I can ask Wojciech what he remembers during his time here. Pet. Pet. This place is a mess. How sad. Chapter House. The door's stuck. I can't get through this way. Chapter House. Cloister. Player says, oh, an old mural. It's worn, but I can still see some of the figures. A dance of death? What? These figures look new. The paint can't be more than a few years old. Someone's been adding to this. This feels wrong. Who would add new figures to the dance of death? And why? These look like people from the town, from here. People who died. That must be the Baron. And that's Otto. Wait, is that? Someone's here. Hello. Who are you? Cloister. Cloister. Player says the door. Whoever was watching me must have opened it. I don't like this. I think I've seen everything left of the abbey. I want to get out here. Pet. Pet. House. Upper Abbey. When did it start snowing? I should get back to the Rathaus and get to work. Lordy. No. Forest. Envious, fall. Mill. House. Morehouse, Butters. Arlene, Martin, Slavia. Chicken Butters, Martin, Regis, Magazine, Martin, Magazine. Hans Farm, Martin, Lucas, Eddie, Hans House, Simon, Hans, Players, Hans, Town Farm, Hans Ilpier, House, Town Commons, Britain, Central Town, Ready, Central Town, Al Bakery, Central Town, Brett, Bless you, Magazine, Brett, Central Town, Al Bakery, Central Town, Rathaus, North Town. Work on mural. Work on mural. Werner says good evening, Magdalene. Player says good evening, Dr. Stalls. Werner says I see you're progressing on the town mural. You've made rapid progress. Option 1 of 4 I am trying to finish it in time for Dad. You understand? Option 2 of 4 it's taken longer than I've wanted. I have to get all my other chores done, too. Option 3 of 4 still think that I shouldn't be painting the mural, Dr. Stalls. Option 4 of 4 well, I've rigged the scaffolding sheets so that enough air can flow through. That way, the layers dry quickly. Option 1 of 4 I am trying to finish it in time for Dad. You understand? Werner says I'm doing the best I can to give him as much time as I can. The rest is in God's hand. Player says thank you. It's appreciated. Werner says of course. Now then, the council has asked to hear about your progress. Player says I've been researching the early Christian history of Tassing, after the Romans left, learning how people settled in the ruins, how the abbey was founded, why our saints are so important to us. It was a lot to take in, but I've settled on my subject. Werner says and what have you chosen, if I may ask? Option 1 of 4 I'll paint St. Moritz, St. Satia, and Our Lady of the Labyrinth receiving the Christian settlers. Option 2 of 4 I want to show history how it happened. I'll paint Lady Kiersaw founding the abbey from the old Burg Fried. Option 3 of 4 I'll paint the Bavarians settling among the Roman ruins, starting the Christian history of Tassing. Option 4 of 4 I'll paint the Christians arriving from Graubünden to settle among the Roman ruins. Option 2 of 4 I want to show history how it happened. I'll paint Lady Kiersaw founding the abbey from the old Burg Fried. Werner says that might rub some people in town the wrong way. The saints are a core part of Tassing's history, after all. I would be careful in how you choose to paint such a piece. Our Lord is a staunch Catholic. One could interpret the absence of the saints as, well, Lutheran. Option 1 of 2 clearly that's not what I'm intending. Option 2 of 2 shrug. Option 1 of 2 clearly that's not what I'm intending. Werner says it may not be so clear to our Lord. It may reflect poorly on Tassing. Remember, these murals are for all of us. Option 1 of 3 I remember. Option 2 of 3 nod. Option 3 of 3 just let me do my job, Doctor. Option 1 of 3 I remember. Werner says very well. Player says after this section, there's still so much work to do. I haven't even figured out how I'm going to portray the revolt. Werner says yes, I imagine it poses difficulties that the other murals do not. Player says it's a strange thing to tell a story that still lives in the hearts of so many people here. I don't think anyone wants to talk about it. They've all just locked it away. Werner says it sounds like you have your work cut out for you. I'll leave you to it, then. Player says Dr. Stalls. Werner says yes. Option 1 of 2 have you ever seen someone lurking around the abbey? Option 2 of 2 never mind. Option 1 of 2 have you ever seen someone lurking around the abbey? Player says or heard about it. Werner says I haven't been up to the abbey in years. And no, I haven't heard of anything like that. Why? Player says I've seen someone following me. A few times. Werner says I'm sorry to hear that. Didn't you run into that odious woodsman, Holler Brandt, not long ago? Option 1 of 2 I did. It wasn't a pleasant experience. Option 2 of 2 yes, but I don't think it's the same person. Werner says well, if you have concerns, you should ask one of the boys to escort you when you're out. There's no need to risk your safety. Player says you're right. Good night, Dr. Stalls. Werner says good night, Magdalene. Player says now I only have the final part of the mural to finish. How should I paint the revolt? Dad always talked about how the archdeacon was the only one seeking justice in those days. But what was his name? The only name I can remember is the name of the archdeacon who came to Tassing when that baron was killed, Jacob Estler. Maybe he wrote an account of the revolt as an archdeacon. I'll write to him and ask, and of course I need to write back to Esther, too. I'll write to them tonight, before bed. Right. Player says how did this get here? Player says stop. Player says this is just like the note Dad found. Option 1 of 2 who's doing this? Option 2 of 2 are they trying to scare me? Option 1 of 2 who's doing this? Player says I have a feeling I'm going to find out sooner or later. I need to ask Dad about this. It can't be a coincidence, but he's been so weak. I don't want to upset him. I just need to wait for the right time. I hope there is a right time. Sleep. Right. Player says alright, where to begin? I'll write to the Archdeacon, Jacob Estler, and see if he can tell me about the revolt. I'll write a letter to Esther, too. I hope the courier can make it through the passes before winter. Player says Jacob Estler, formerly Archdeacon of Freising. My name is Magdalene Druck-Aaron. I am an artist in the town of Tassing in Upper Bavaria. I believe you passed through our community when you investigated Baron Rothvogel's murder at Kearsarge Abbey in 1518. Do you remember anything about that case that the people in Tassing might not remember? Option 1 of 3 in particular. Do you remember anything about someone writing notes to provoke the killer? Option 2 of 3 did you see any evidence that might suggest there was some sort of larger conspiracy at work? Option 3 of 3 do you have any reason to doubt the conclusion of the case? Option 2 of 3 did you see any evidence that might suggest there was some sort of larger conspiracy at work? Player says thank you for any help you can give, Magdalene Druck-Aaron. Dearest Esther, I hope you are well. You must know how tremendously happy I am for you and Simond, and Alicia too, of course. And your parents. It warms my heart to know that your family is doing so well. By the time this letter reaches you, I expect winter will have enfolded Tassing. It's already freezing at night, so I've reorganized the workshop so that the inks don't deteriorate. Do you have to worry about that in Prague? You've said it snows, but I always imagined it was warmer in winter. Dad is doing poorly, but at least he seems comfortable. He's sleeping more, but Dr. Stalls says that's a consequence of the colder weather. I do what I can for him, but this winter has been hard. I've asked Agnes for help, but there's only so much she and Dr. Stalls can do. He's not going to make it, and there's nothing I can do. Christ, I'm scared. Esther, the mural is progressing well, but I can't shake the feeling that someone is following me. I keep seeing this figure around town. After I explored the mines to see Tassing's early history, and then again in the Abbey ruins. Option 1 of 3 and no one else in Tassing has seen anything, but some of the nuns say they've seen ghosts. Option 2 of 3 if it's the person who attacked my dad, why are they following me? Option 3 of 3 whoever it is, I'm sure it's not anyone from Tassing. But what do they want with me? Option 2 of 3 if it's the person who attacked my dad, why are they following me? Player says it's the strangest thing. Given me a fright a few times. Option 1 of 2 and I found a strange note left on my bed, matching one I found by my dad after the attack. Option 2 of 2 but I don't mean to worry you. Option 1 of 2 and I found a strange note left on my bed, matching one I found by my dad after the attack. Player says they both only read the word stop, like a warning. But stop what? The mural? I can't stop that now. What if the person following me is the one writing them? Why? What do they want? But I don't mean to worry you. Nothing's happened to me yet, so I think I'll be safe. The only good news I can share at the moment is that the mural is almost finished. I should have it completed by Christmas, or soon after. Before the new year, at least. Then perhaps, at long last, I shall be able to visit you, and meet this Simond. Anyway, I fear that this will be my last letter of the year. The Reichspost has already been late, and reported worsening snows through the passes. We seem to be stepping into a harsh winter. Stay warm, and give my regards to your family, and Simond. Yours always, Magda. Sleep. Player says it's late, I should get some rest. Option 1 of 2 go to sleep. Option 2 of 2 stay awake. Convent Garden. Franziska says God bless you, Magdalene. Have you given any more thought to becoming a sister? Option 1 of 3 I've been too preoccupied with caring for my father to think about it. Abyss. Option 2 of 3 I'm still thinking about it. Option 3 of 3 QUIT pestering me about it. Mother. I said no. Option 1 of 3 I've been too preoccupied with caring for my father to think about it. Abyss. Franziska says of course. I do not mean to trouble you over the matter. If your spirit is troubled by the matter, I am always here to lend an ear. Father Thomas, as well. Player says thank you. Franziska says God bless you, Magdalene. Franziska. Sleep. Player says it's late, I should get some rest. Option 1 of 2 go to sleep. Reich's postman says Mistress Druck Aaron. Only one letter for you today. The pass is nigh impossible to traverse, and the heavy snow is hard on the horse, and me. Anyway, happy Advent, my dear. Player says thank you. The same to you. Ah, a reply from Jacob Estler. Jacob says Mistress Druck Aaron. I do recall the Rothvogel case, though it has been over a decade since I have served as an archdeacon. I am no longer associated with the office of the Prince Bishop. In fact, I am no longer associated with the Catholic Church. If you do not mind conversing with a Lutheran, I will tell you what I remember. I investigated several murders as archdeacon, but none had the curious specter of conspiracy that haunted Baron Rothvogel. After the peasants burned Kearsarge, I read a report suggesting that a conspiracy was behind the murder of the town carpenter as well. It was around this time that I did some research of my own into the death of Father Gernot's predecessor, Father Matthias. While no one suspected foul play at the time, I had reason to believe that his death may be connected to the 2 other murders. If this is the case, a serpent has lain coiled in the bosom of your community for decades. It may lay there still. What causes this serpent to awaken every few years to stage a new killing? I fear that finding the answer to that question may draw you into its reach. However, if you are determined to find the source of the trouble, I believe you must inquire with your neighbors. I urge caution in your investigation into this matter. If the serpent merely sleeps, it may be dangerous to poke into its old resting places. I hope this has been of some help to you. May God bless and keep you safe. Jacob Estler. Player says no reply from Esther this time. It must have been delayed due to the heavy snow. The postman said I won't receive any more letters until spring. I'd better get back to the Rathaus, then. Still more work to be done. Player says good morning, Dad. I finally caught up on the mural, and now I can start the final part today. I promise, I'll get it done. Klaus says Magdalene. I'm proud of you. Player says thanks, Dad. I'm sorry Dr. Stahl said you can't come to the festivities tonight. I know how much you love the Perchtenlauf. Klaus says there's always, next year. Player says, right, how are you feeling? Dr. Stahl said he would come by again today. Klaus says fine, fine. I'm fine. Option 1 of 3 are you sure? Do you need anything? Option 2 of 3 maybe I should stay home with you today. Option 3 of 3. Alright. I'll come by later to check on you. Option 1 of 3 are you sure? Do you need anything? Option 2 of 3 maybe I should stay home with you today. Klaus says no, Magdalene. If you want to work, you should work. It's all right, in fact, my spirits are lifted today. It's Christmas Eve, after all. Player says of course. Klaus says what's wrong? Player says Dad. I found a note, back in November. Klaus says a note? What do you mean? Player says it was like a note I found in your plans for the murals, just a scrap of parchment. It looked like it came out of an old manuscript. Elaborate writing, purple ink. It just said, stop. Klaus says. Player says do you know where they came from? Who wrote them? Klaus says. Magdalene. Player says oh, God. That must be OTZ. He said he'd drop by with more firewood. Klaus says. Player says if you know something, I'd like you to tell me, alright? Klaus says I know. I will. Can we talk about it later? Option 1 of 2 DAD. Option 2 of 2 nod. Option 1 of 2 DAD. Klaus says I'll tell you. I promise. Player says alright. I'll be back later. Klaus says good. Take care of yourself out there. Church and Druckers. OTZ says morning, Magdalene. Player says morning, OTZ. Cold out, isn't it? OTZ says freezing. Makes me envy Nico, able to stay inside all day. Even Endris has his forge to keep him warm. Anyway, here. I brought some firewood for you and your dad. Option 1 of 2 THANKU, OTZ. Option 2 of 2 I could have managed. Option 1 of 2 THANKU, OTZ. OTZ says you're welcome. Player says. OTZ says so, how's your dad? You think he can join everyone for Christmas Mass? Player says I think he'll stay in bed tonight. I'll do my best to be there. I need to keep working on the mural, though. I'm working on the final section. OTZ says about the peasants' revolt, right? It feels weird to talk about. It affected Tassing so much, but we were just kids. I can't remember what happened, since I was just a baby. I never even knew my dad. Player says that's what makes it difficult. I need to ask those who were already adults that night, but don't want to touch raw nerves. OTZ says What if you spoke to people while everyone was preparing for the Christmas festivity? Clara sometimes talks about that night. Mom, too. You might be able to ask them. Player says Wojcislaw and Matilda are the only 2 Benedictines left living in Tassing. Maybe they'll talk to me. OTZ says hey, I didn't think of that. Still, the mural is for Tassing, not the old abbey. Agnes has always been in Tassing, right? I'd go to her if I were you. Option 1 of 2 DAD said she helped bury everyone who died that night. I wonder if she'd talk about it. Option 2 of 2 that's useless. She hates when anyone talks about the revolt. Option 1 of 2 DAD said she helped bury everyone who died that night. I wonder if she'd talk about it. OTZ says it's your project, Magdalene. Might be worth a try. Player says I wrote to the old archdeacon about it too. He thinks that the Baron's murder and Otto's death are connected to the revolt. OTZ says the who? Option 1 of 3 The man who came to Tassing for the Baron Rothvogel's murder. Option 2 of 3 It doesn't matter. What if all the deaths in Tassing are connected? Option 3 of 3 The old. Oh, never mind. Option 1 of 3 The man who came to Tassing for the Baron Rothvogel's murder. OTZ says what about him? Option 1 of 2 He was the judge for the Baron's murder. What if all the deaths in Tassing are connected? Option 1 of 2 He was the judge for the Baron's murder. What if all the deaths in Tassing are connected? OTZ says I don't see how that old Baron has anything to do with the revolt. Are you feeling alright? I think you're looking for connections that aren't there. Maybe this mural project is getting to you. Option 1 of 3 I need to get to the bottom of this, OTZ. There's something more to all this. I know it. Option 2 of 3 Maybe you're right. I just can't shake the feeling someone is following me. Option 3 of 3 UGH. You're useless. Option 1 of 3. I need to get to the bottom of this, OTZ. There's something more to all this. I know it, OTZ says if you're sure. Player says I'll figure it out somehow. Thanks for the wood. OTZ says see you later, Mags. Player says, ugh, OTZ is right. I should start talking to people around town. I'd better get started if I want to talk to everyone before the Perchtenlauf. Alexander. Alexander says well, if it isn't. Magdal. Option 1 of 2 that's me. Option 2 of 2 you relearning everyone's names during your stay? Alexander says alas, it appears the good people of Tassing are the only audience I will have until the pass is clear. It seems only right that I attempt to put myself on friendly terms with you and your neighbors. Player says how are you finding Tassing? Alexander says everyone has been quite kind and no one has thrown anything at me for my music. Considering the circumstances, I'm counting that as a success. I have to admit I was quite upset that I had missed my opportunity to sing at the Meistersinger competition. Casimir says he practiced so much for it. Alexander says yes. It's hard not to view the last year as a waste. Option 1 of 2 while you can try again next Christmas, can't you? Option 2 of 2 really, the whole year's a waste? Option 1 of 2 while you can try again next Christmas, can't you? Alexander says of course, though the older I get, the less comfort I take in the possibilities of the future. Missed opportunities sting more with each passing year. Option 1 of 2 WELL, you have an audience here, the people of Tassing. Option 2 of 2 opportunities to do what? Win a contest. Option 1 of 2 WELL, you have an audience here, the people of Tassing. Alexander says and perform for them I will. I love performing for people wherever I go. When I sing for people, I want to move them. I want to see it on their faces. It's only in that moment that I can connect with them. That's the only truth I know. Meistersinger judges will rate me as they will, but that's not why I want to perform for them. I want to move the masters the way they moved me. Does that make sense? Option 1 of 3 I think so. My dad is my teacher and his approval means a lot to me. Option 2 of 3 I am not sure. I never really thought about it. Making art is just what I do to help my dad. Option 3 of 3 I suppose. I make art for my own satisfaction. Option 1 of 3 I think so. My dad is my teacher and his approval means a lot to me. Alexander says I think we all want the approval of those who came before us, and someday someone will look to me for approval. Hard to imagine. I'm sorry. Just feeling a bit melancholy. Option 1 of 2 it's the long nights. Option 2 of 2 CHER up. Christmas is here. Alexander says of course. In our darkest hours, the birth of our Savior reminds us that dawn will follow. Perhaps the Christmas feast will lift my spirits. Will I see you there? Player says absolutely. Almost everyone in town should be there. Alexander says then I look forward to it. Until then. Alexander. Alexander says Casimir's. Casimir says. Hello Magdalene. Player says hello again, Casimir's. Option 1 of 2 HOW are you finding Tassing Swinter? Option 2 of 2 HOW have your performances gone? Option 1 of 2 HOW are you finding Tassing Swinter? Casimir says. Colder than Würzburg. People are nice. Option 1 of 2 are you looking forward to the Christmas feast? Option 2 of 2 are you looking forward to going home when the pass is clear? Option 1 of 2 are you looking forward to the Christmas feast? Casimir says. Yes. Alexander is upset about missing the competition, but it will be nice to perform for a large crowd. Option 1 of 2 I am sure everyone will love it. It's not often we get musicians of your skill in tassing. Option 2 of 2 I look forward to hearing you. Option 1 of 2 I am sure everyone will love it. It's not often we get musicians of your skill in tassing. Alexander. Hans. Wojslav. Wojslav says God bless you, Magdalene. Player says hello. Wojslav, I have an odd question for you. Wojslav says oh? Player says when I was exploring the abbey for the mural background I stumbled upon some stray cats. Were there a lot of cats during your time? Wojslav says ah, haha. Yes, as a matter of fact, there were always cats around the abbey, but one summer, they started begging for food. Persistent little creatures. Brother Lucas swears he never fed them, but I have my doubts. Player says well, they seem to have made the abbey their home now. Wojslav says ha. Good for them. At least someone is making use of that old structure. Thank you for telling me, Magdalene. Player says be well. Wojslav says God bless you and your father, Magdalene. Hans. Wojslav says God bless you, Magdalene. Yuda. Hans says ah, hello, Magdalene. Yuda says hello, Magdalene. How's the weather? We've been prepping for the feast in here all day. Option 1 of 3 fresh and brisk. Perfect for a walk. Option 2 of 3 colder than usual. I'm glad to be indoors now. Option 3 of 3 too damn cold. It's like this winter will never end. Option 1 of 3 fresh and brisk. Perfect for a walk. Simon says ugh, better you than me. I'll stay in here, where I can keep my fingers warm. Matilda says you'd better keep your fingers out of my dough, Master Bauer. Simon says I didn't do anything. Matilda says you've snuck your little fingers into my cookie dough 3 times today. Do it again and I'll wrap your knuckles with the back of my spoon. Hans says don't anger Mistress Matilda, Simon. Simon says yes, sir. Sorry, Mistress Matilda. Matilda says we need enough dough to make cookies for the entire town. You can't be eating it all. Hans says anyway, what did you come in for, Magdalene? Player says I was hoping you could tell me what you remember of the revolt. I was too young to remember much of it. No one ever seems to talk about it, and Mistress Matilda and Master Wojslav, you two are the only ones left who used to live in the abbey. Wojslav says the only ones who stayed, anyway. Matilda and I had been friendly enough with the people in town, we put it behind us in time. You can imagine the other brothers had little reason to remain. Old Edoc made it out. I think Father Gernot paid for him to go back to an abbey in Cornwall. Frank joined the Dominicans and became an inquisitor. I've seen him around these parts over the years. Time has turned him friendly enough, considering his vocation. I'm not sure what happened to the others. All gone, in any case, but the whole thing is a sensitive subject, Magdalene. Why are you asking? Option 1 of 2 I want to honor everyone who fought in the revolt in the Rathaus mural. Option 2 of 2 I want to portray the event truthfully in the mural, so I'm trying to hear everyone's account of events. Wojslav says, for the sake of seeing it portrayed right, I'll tell you what I remember. Yuda says wait, Magdalene, here. Come cut out cookies with me first. That way we don't fall behind while we chat. Hans says we'd be grateful for the help. Yuda says all right, Magdalene. Cut out cookies from the dough and set them aside so Simon can put them on a tray. We'll need a good number in a variety of shapes, so don't hesitate to change which cutter you use. We have to have enough for the whole town, after all. Are you done? Oh, so many are the same shape. Option 1 of 2 let me try again. Option 2 of 2 I think it's fine. Option 1 of 2 let me try again. Yuta says alright, now don't forget, we need a lot of cookies in all the shapes, so don't just stick to one press. Are you done? These look wonderful. Thank you. You can make more if you want, but it looks like we have enough. Option 1 of 2 let me try again. Option 2 of 2 I think that's good for now. Yuta says thanks for helping, Magdalene. Wojciech says we'd better keep going if we're going to have everything ready by the procession tonight. Simon says so, what can we tell you, Mags? Player says I heard the Landsknechts came into town before the revolt and warned everyone to leave the abbey alone. Option 1 of 3 could things really have been talked out, or was it too late by then? Option 2 of 3 why didn't anybody listen? They were trained soldiers, and they killed so many people. Option 3 of 3 did the abbot really think threatening you would work? Option 1 of 3 could things really have been talked out, or was it too late by then? Hans says there were some people who wanted to talk. Master Mailer worked hard to keep the peace, but after Otto was killed, Matilda says oh, Andreas. A shame, how he died. We at the monastery were fond of him. Player says Dad said he was instrumental in keeping the revolt from getting out of hand. He regrets not standing by him. Wojciech says yes, he was. He had a personal dinner with the abbot to try and discuss things, I believe. Matilda says a pity they couldn't come to an agreement. Wojciech says yes, Andreas did a lot of good for Tassing, and Kiersaw, too. Matilda says even if the old abbot failed to admit that. Hans says I still grieve that he died in the abbey fire. I know your father does too, Magdalene. Option 1 of 3 wasn't the revolt in general justified? Option 2 of 3 would it have been best to leave the matter alone? Option 3 of 3 it sounds like no one should have opposed the abbey at all. Option 1 of 3 wasn't the revolt in general justified? Hans says, yes, I think so. We couldn't even collect in the forest without a fee. Dad kept saying we couldn't live with higher and higher taxes. The night Otto died, the abbot was trying to excommunicate everyone for celebrating St. John's Eve. A lot of people thought the abbot killed him, in revenge. Yuta says turns out it was Hannah, the innkeeper's wife. I still say she was pressured into it by the miller. Hans says still, after Otto and Ulrich, that was too much. We burned the mill, with both bastards inside. The abbot promised to help if Andreas found the person who killed Otto. All we wanted was to talk. Option 1 of 3 didn't you say that you'd just burned down the mill? Option 2 of 3 the abbot ordered the Landsknechts to stop you? Option 3 of 3 you mean, no one was supposed to burn the abbey down? Hans says why would anyone want that? We sought justice, not murder. It was too much for Peter. Lenhart was one thing. He'd just killed Ulrich, but to burn the abbey. Wojciech says but when the Landsknechts saw the fire, they thought they had another revolt on their hands. Even Father Gernot couldn't stop them. We all fled. Brother Florian saved as many as he could, but Yuda says Peter was wrong to burn the abbey, but what the soldiers did, that was awful. Player says I thought that knights were supposed to protect people, like in Partival. Wojcislav says rarely does real life match the heroism of stories. Magdalene. Simon says Dad died protecting me. Stabbed in the chest. I don't even remember what he was wearing, but I remember how dark the blood was when we found him. Almost black, and sticky, like treacle. Hans says Dad socked one of the soldiers in the face, but another was right there. And Yuda says Magdalene, can we stop talking about this? Option 1 of 3 of course, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset anyone. Option 2 of 3 yes. Thank you for talking to me. I'll do my best on the mural. Option 3 of 3 all right. Option 2 of 3 yes. Thank you for talking to me. I'll do my best on the mural. Simon says good luck. We'll see you at the procession later. Player says until then. Wojcislav.